Today on Locked On Canadians, we've got something special planned for the haters. Mike Matheson has haters, Patrik Laine has haters, Mitch Marner has haters, and we're here to try to talk you into all of them.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
If you're still here after that intro, you're a real one and we love you. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. This is Locked On Canadians. As you know, we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. So for those of you making us your first listen of the day, we thank you. You know we're here for you every day as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And sometimes we got to talk about some stuff that I think we've been trying to talk ourselves into since before we recorded our last episode. So let's introduce ourselves and get right to it. My name is Laura Saba. You will know me from formerly a long time ago, Habs Eyes on the Prize. I was also a producer on Hockey Primetime. And now I'm just known as the Active Stick, and this is what I've been doing for the past 6 years. And my wonderful co-host is Ian Boisvert. You will know him from, I think, most recently, The Build. I think this is really like, that's the thing. You are covering a rebuild, and now you're just doing it every day. Ian, how are you doing this evening as we get ready to talk about some stuff?
I'm doing very well, and I have to wish a warm welcome to what I hope is our newest listener. I ran into a Habs fan in Western Connecticut at a driving range, and I hope he's listening to the show. Thank you for meeting with us. Thank you for letting my dad embarrass me at the driving range. I really appreciate that. So thanks for joining us. He said it when he came up to us. Habs fans travel well. Man, that's the truth. We could not be further from any of that at a golf range dealing with the offseason. As he left, he yelled, "Big Summer, need that 2C." These are Habs fans, man. It ruled so hard. So it was nice to meet you. Thanks for subscribing, and hope to have you along for the ride for a while.
Our listeners are honestly, they're unbelievable. We love you all so much. All right. So if you're a longtime listener to the show, you will know we have a segment called Rumor Roundup. And today we have so many things to talk about that we're actually going to do 2 segments of Rumor Roundup. It is a Rumor Roundup sandwich. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you will see that Ian has put his hat on because the first thing we're going to talk about, and listen, hear us out. You have to hear us out. The first thing we're going to talk about is Mitch Marner potentially becoming a Montreal Canadien. So let's start with the rumor to begin with. The source is Dave Pagnotta of the Fourth Period. And what specifically did he say? I think he said something like
I have it pulled up here.
All right.
Yeah, he was on the sheet with Jeff Merrick, and he said, "I think Calgary will express interest in Mitch Marner. I think the Montreal Canadiens will express interest. Whether those are environments he wants to go in and be a part of, I don't get that sense." Okay. So I'm glad you set the stage by saying, "Hear us out," because we need to. I think we're going to do what I imagine the Montreal Canadiens are doing. They have a bunch of cap space. They want to add elite talent. They are going to do their due diligence on this player, see what he wants, see if he wants to be in Montreal. That seems rather far-fetched given the history of this hockey player. But they're going to do their due diligence, and so are we. So let's think about Mitch Marner as it pertains to fitting within the Montreal Canadiens' plans. He's 6 foot. He's very small. 6 foot is pretty average for hockey players, but weight-wise, he's very slender. He's not like a built guy. Just had 102 points this season, 75 assists. Wild season for Mitch Marner. He leaves Toronto with a legacy behind him of playoff disappointment and playoff failure and continued. It's not just 1 or 2, it's a handful of these failures.
Choker is a word that is used a lot.
I see the clip of him, and I know this is 2021. It's almost ancient history now. But the clip of him sitting in the penalty box in, I believe, Game 6 of that series against Montreal, where he took a delay of game penalty that put Montreal on the 5-on-3, I believe, or maybe it was just a power play, and Montreal scored a huge goal on that power play. He looked like he was about to start sobbing in the penalty box. These guys have demons, all of them, that they have not exercised properly, which is why I find the fit to be non-existent with this player. If you were to give me the profile, just the stats on this player, a winger, 102 points, power play performer, penalty killer, Selke
Perennial Selke
nominee,
candidate.
we'd be falling out of our chairs to get this guy. But that does not exist within the context of where this guy is coming from.
I think there's a lot of baggage there.
Word.
Removing Montreal from the equation, this is a man who, hometown team, there was a lot said about the contract. There's a lot that's talked about, like the top heavy Leafs and they couldn't get it done, et cetera, et cetera. This is a man who I think the best situation for him is to go somewhere where people do not know where you live. They're not throwing trash on your lawn. They're not following your wife and your newborn child to say mean things about you. And you're not there's not this much weight attached to your performance, because the thing about Mitch Marner is that he does have this reputation, and in some playoff series he's earned it and in some he's not. When we started talking about this yesterday before we started recording, I was shocked at the stat that Ian gave me, and that this is that in the 2024-2025 season, in the playoffs, Mitch Marner's over a point per game.
He's exactly a point per game. 13 games, 13 points, 2 goals, 11 assists, still a -1 somehow. Yeah, I mean, it's just I almost want to look at Four Nations as a glimmer of hope that maybe this is less Mitch Marner and more the Toronto Maple Leafs. Because at Four Nations, I know people gave him a lot of crap for the way he was playing. He had the game winner in the first game of that tournament. He had an overtime winner, and then he assisted on McDavid's winner. He made a great play just going to the corner and getting the puck to the middle of the ice. I want to believe that that is in there for that player and has been this whole time. And that
the big game guy.
Yes, that he can be that guy. And maybe it's just the stink of the rest of that team bringing it down. Because you look across the rest of that roster, it's not like everybody else was lighting the world on fire. I know Nylander's a perennial, playoff performer. Till you get into those later games in the series, then none of those guys know how to score. But I want to believe it's the X-Files. I want to believe that he can do this. That needs to be somebody else's bet to make.
Yes.
I don't think that's the kind of bet that Montreal can get themselves into, knowing what they have ahead of them. That is Anaheim's bet to make, right? Like you could go to Anaheim and disappear and make millions of dollars and score 100 points and do nothing.
Change the franchise. Yeah.
And get them to a playoff spot, because maybe he will. Maybe he will.
Yeah.
But
I think, and that's the thing. There's no doubt as to his regular season performance. And here's what I know is that as soon as people start listening to this, we're going to get comments saying, I don't want him because he's a choker. He can't make it happen in the playoffs. Yeah. Oh, it's happening. It's happening. All of that kind of stuff. But here's what I would do if I was Mitch Marner. This is what I personally would do if I were Mitch Marner. I would sign somewhere for 1 year. Somewhere you're expecting that they're going to make the playoffs. I would change that narrative. I would play some big games without Austin Matthews, without Nylander, without Morgan Riley, without the lack of defense that the Toronto Maple Leafs had for 10 years, without the terrible goaltending they had for 7 years, without it was 3-1. I play somewhere where I am the guy in the playoffs. I make it happen, whether we go 1, 2, 3 rounds, whether we go all the way to the final. I Corey Perry it for a playoff run, and then I cash out. And then I make my next big
That is
contract.
a fascinating proposal. I completely agree with you.
I would do if I was Mitch Marner. But that's not what he's going to do.
Right. It came out today that Dallas might be looking to shed some salary in order to make some moves. Does that not scream something that he would be able to do? Just take a 1-year deal, go to Dallas, win a cup with them, and then prove to everybody that you can do it. And then Toronto, your next contract's going to be massive.
Yes.
I love that idea so much for him. I think that that's the most likely scenario. Really quick, we have to do the yeehaws for this.
Yes.
Realism. What are your thoughts?
Is -10 out of 05.
I completely agree. This is not a fit in Montreal, whatever. Entertainment, though. How fun is this?
700 out of 5.
Yeah, the haters are going to be so mad, and I just really love that for them.
I am so excited. All right, but here's the other question I'm going to leave you guys with before we turn our attention to Patrik Laine is if he does the thing I just said, would Montreal be interested next year? And would he be interested in Montreal next year? So we're not going to debate that. I just want to leave that with the listeners because we got a lot to talk about. And in just one moment, we've got another one for the haters, and that is the Patrik Laine season review coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder where all your money went? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. My co-host can vouch for this. Just before we started recording, I had that moment myself. I was like, where did all my money go? That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. And I can tell you that it's made a difference for me. Yes, I did have that moment, but I can tell you that I'm not having those moments as much as I used to, right? It is tracking my expenses. It is really, really supporting me. It is my financial assistant. And when I first started using it, I realized how much I was spending on food delivery because now I budget smarter and I save more. I do my meal prep. I haven't ordered food in such a long time. It's so, so helpful. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can just use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan your long-term goals. Managing your money with your partner is also smoother than ever, which, as you know, if you are in a relationship, it is massive. Talking money is massive, and you can track your shared and your personal accounts. You can set your goals, and you can stay on the same page with each other without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. All right. It is time to talk about Patrik Laine. When we first started talking about player season reviews, Ian said, I have to be here for this one. So, Patrik Laine is your guy.
Yeah, he really always has been ever since the draft lottery interview where he was laying down. Yeah, I just like the dude just exudes an energy that I think all of us should aspire to. This summer, them trading for him was one of the coolest things that I can remember. Just, your favorite player gets to come play for your favorite team. You're pretty stoked to do that. I think it's important to remember how this started, right? It started with him being on the outs in Columbus. He wanted a fresh start. Columbus was willing to offer that for him, especially because they could get out from behind the cap hit. And Montreal gets paid a second rounder in order to take on Patrik Laine, and Jordan Harris goes the other way. It doesn't really look like it worked well for Jordan Harris in Columbus. He wasn't a regular on that roster for whatever reason. I hope he gets it figured out soon because I think there's an NHL player there. But he I don't know if he waived his no trade clause to come to Montreal, but he had a no trade clause and he was excited by the prospect of coming and playing for the Montreal Canadiens. That hasn't happened in a while. A player of that caliber coming to Montreal and wanting to be there. The preseason starts and he gets his knee blown out by some plug who shouldn't have been in the game. And, you start to think about, well, is this whole season shot? Montreal, he represented Montreal's big step forward, right? He was the reward for the way they played last year. And he's missing for the first, I think, 6 weeks of the season. He comes back and starts just hammering the puck into the net. The one thing I take away from Patrik Laine this season, and maybe we can use this as our chance to share our word on the Patrik Laine experience this season. I'm going to use the word unfair. For a couple of reasons. It was unfair what happened to him. It's not, that's cosmically unfair, not in the sense that, injuries don't happen to other people. Of course they do, but just this player in that situation for that injury to happen was brutal.
And when
it happened, and just all of it surrounding it. But also he came back and that shot was unfair. That was a cheat code of a play for the Montreal Canadiens this year. We'll get into the numbers a little bit in a while. But Laura, what's your word for Patrik Laine's 24-25 campaign?
It was very similar to what you said. It was unlucky. Mine was unlucky. I know that, another term could have been power play or sniper or things like that. I think for me, it was really that moment that he was so excited to be here. The vibes around the team had started to morph into something really fun, and then for that to happen, like you could tell, even the players, the coach, when they talked about it, just how sorry they felt for him. That came out so Canadian. And speaking of Canadians, we've got Andrew Berkshire coming up on our mailbag/Gallagher review tomorrow, and at some point next week we will have the unbelievable Kate Imam to talk about Caden Gooley. Those are two Canadians that you know. And so back to Patrik Laine. Like, I think that there was something about the way this team welcomed him. He symbolized what Kent Hughes said. Like, he symbolized the reward that he was trying to get this team for the hard work that they did the year before, right? So now, having listened to that, I'm thinking, what's the reward this year, Kent? They made the playoffs. What's the reward this year? And I do think that his recovery from injury was nowhere near where we wanted it to be. So the hope is that when he comes back next year, he's actually able to perform. I would say, like, I don't know if he can be completely healthy, but be healthier, right? So the unlucky part, though, is I think that this Montreal Canadiens team, like, some people got laughed at when they said that Patrik Laine was going to make this team a playoff team. But that's what happened. Like, they gave themselves, they put obstacles in their own way at the beginning of the season. They put themselves behind the eight ball, and then it's not when he came back, but he was part of the reason that they were able to make the playoffs, right? Like, they did that hard work. He was part of that, and you can't take that away, right? So just imagine him being more effective this next year. It's going to be a huge year. We don't think he's going to be back the year after. But for me, Patrik Laine was exactly what you said. It was a time where a player with that level of talent wanted to come to Montreal.
Yeah, and this is a sentimental one for me because this is a player and a guy that I just really admire. When he came back from his injury, what he told the media has stuck in my head since he said it. It's rattled around in there. When I have bad days, I remember it. He said, I talked with my therapist about this when I was a little nervous yesterday and decided putting on this jersey today is an achievement after everything, and everything that comes after that is a plus. Right? Doesn't that sound like, getting up in the morning and going to work is an achievement, and everything that comes after that is a plus? Like, that's what I took away from that. And everything that came after that for Patrik Laine was a plus. 20 goals, 13 assists, 33 points in just 52 games, 15 power play goals. He was fourth in the National Hockey League. He played a little over half of the season, and only Braden Point, Leon Draisaitl, and Jake Gensel had more power play goals than Patrik Laine. I know the way that it ended leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. I bet it leaves a bad taste in Patrik Laine's mouth. The fact that he couldn't play at the end of this season. And people were very hard on him in the playoffs because it was very clear he couldn't shoot the puck. They showed a video of him in the locker room after game 3 where they won, where he's trying to clap and he literally can't clap. Like, think about how light you have to move your hands to clap. He can't do it. His finger's broken. So it's unfortunate what happened. I'm really hoping that this season coming up, he spends the summer to rehab that knee, to rehab his shoulder, to rehab all the parts of him that are hurt. And he comes back and he shows everyone that he can be that guy. Because whether or not he's that guy in the future for Montreal, I don't care. I'm rooting for this guy always and forever. Like, this guy is, I've hitched my wagon to him for good reason. Like, I'm really, really pulling for this guy.
What's the thing they inject Captain America with to make him Captain America?
Yeah. We just make him Captain Finland. Yeah.
Yeah, they just need to. They need to do that with his bones, so like this kind of stuff doesn't happen.
Speaking of countries, at Four Nations, he was pretty good.
Yeah,
he could barely skate, and like he was still one of the better offensive talents for Finland in that tournament.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think people are too hard on this guy. This is the haters edition of Locked On Canadiens. I think next year they'll get him in a role that makes sense. He'll be healthier, and we will ball from there.
maybe just don't play him at all in the preseason and like the first couple of games.
Yeah, maybe just
Canadiens are
bar
playing.
Cedric Pare from the province. He's not allowed to enter. Like maybe he's not allowed home.
We got to kick him out. Anytime they're playing a team like Florida, no Patrik Laine, he has to sit.
Yeah,
Anytime they play any of
load
those losing
management.
teams. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. All right, and that was like it goes to the word that you were saying, the unfair, because I think fans were really unfair on him. They really
Yeah,
were. And we had a listener comment about Kirby Dach's injury, and I did want to spend some time on that a little bit later, maybe next week. But we were unfair. Like we did not give him enough grace for the amount of injured that he was, I think, for Patrik Laine. All right, coming up next, as if Mitch Marner and Patrik Laine weren't enough for the haters, we have got some Mike Matheson coming up next. Those of you watching on YouTube, the hat is back. Why? Because we have another segment of Rumor Roundup. Today is a Rumor Roundup sandwich. And this comes from, I would say, one of the two people I consider the gold standard in covering the Montreal Canadiens, specifically Marc-Antoine Gaudin. And then the other one is obviously Arpon Basu. Those are the two guys that I always, they're very thoughtful, and I will always put the most stock in what they have to say. And as you know, we don't know because we didn't even notice that the combine was happening because we're not that team anymore. We're not hanging, we're not hanging on to every single prospect tidbit. Although we like the EP draft guide is out and we will be talking about it next week. Marc-Antoine Gaudin says, and I'm translating from French, Mike Matheson spent about an hour and a half with Gorton and Hughes today in Buffalo. It was not about negotiations per se, but Matheson is eligible to sign a contract on a new contract on July 1st, and he would like to come to a new agreement with the Montreal Canadiens. So this is my best attempt at translating a French Blue Sky post from Marc-Antoine Gaudin. Okay, so if I'm Mike Matheson, that to me said, like, I'm from Montreal. This is a historic team. Like, when you were a kid, like putting on that jersey was the pinnacle of hockey. His family seems happy here. He seems happy here. The Montreal Canadiens really like him. This is the thing. The fans might have a lot to say, but the organization as a whole loves Mike Matheson.
Yeah. The one question I have here, I know Marc-Antoine was very careful about saying that this wasn't necessarily about a contract negotiation. What's Mike Matheson doing in Buffalo? If it's not to do any kind of, like, what is he doing?
Well, is Emily Matheson from Buffalo?
I don't know. It's a genuine question. Like, it seems
right.
weird that they're doing this business there instead of where they all already were, which is in Montreal, right? Like, It seems very odd to me that they're making this decision now.
I believe she played in Buffalo as a Buffalo Beaut.
Oh, okay.
Not entirely sure. Yeah, she was born somewhere in Western New York.
Okay,
In Erie County. Okay, so that's where she's from. So
okay,
his
then
wife
that
is from
tracks.
there.
Then this was just he was in the neighborhood. My buddies are there. My bosses are there. I'm gonna go see him for a while. That makes more sense.
I gotta go kiss
Thank
boss
you for
butt.
clarifying that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And look, the last 2/3 of this show are just guys that Ian likes. Like, that's what this is. Mike Matheson is one of my dudes, and I'll go to the mat for this player because I just think that people do not understand him. We haven't done Mike Matheson's player review. If you're looking at it alphabetically, he's coming up whenever we can get through the Brendan Gallagher one in our backlog of player reviews.
Can we do the rumor roundup? Like, instead of Yeehaws, can we do the Mike meter instead? I missed the thing.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yes, of course. Yes, we're doing the Mike meter.
Right.
Yes. I just think that this is a guy who, if he wants to stay a long-term or a Canadian for a little bit longer, I think it speaks to the character of guy that Mike Matheson is, and also to the belief in what they're building in Montreal. I'll talk about the character part first. This is a guy who had his role on the top power play unit taken away by some upstart rookie who looks like a 12-year-old boy. He gets it taken away, and he takes it on the chin and decides instead he's going to become an irreplaceable part of the penalty kill. He decides, I'm still special enough for special teams. I'm going to be very good on the penalty kill. But also, like, the belief in the team, like the fact that he wants to be around these guys and he wants to be one of the veteran leaders. Look at that defense core. Now that David Savard is gone, he's the new dad. Like,
it's just like a bunch of 12-year-olds in him.
And Alex Carrier. And that's it. Like, and Alex Carrier is 5'11". So kind of, you know, like it's very much, I think he sees that he's carving out a niche for himself. I think that as the defense core grows around him, he will be put into a place that is more reflective of the kind of player he is. Mike Matheson is not a number one defenseman, and the Canadiens have had to demand that of him for years, because who else is going to do it? That's been the refrain on this show. You want Mike Matheson gone? Who else is going to do it? Who is eating those minutes every night? You know, like, oh, we can throw Caden Cooley's already playing 20 minutes. Lane Hutson's already playing 1 billion minutes a night. Like, it has to be him, or you have to find somebody else to come in. And why wouldn't you just have this guy then? So I know I already hear people clacking away and typing and, oh, this guy's terrible. Brr. Like, I get it. I get that he makes boneheaded mistakes. It's why the Mike meter was created. It's why we made that, was to point out games where he did make some of those mistakes, but to also give him his flowers when he rules. Because more often than not, this guy does rule. And you guys fans just kind of let it go. They don't notice. Sometimes when you do the right thing, no one's sure you've done anything at all. And that's what Mike Matheson does on a nightly basis for this team.
I want to know one thing. It's like, why can we forgive Logan Mailloux for a boneheaded mistake, but we can't forgive Mike Matheson?
It's a loaded question.
Why do we write an entire narrative about how Mike Matheson sucks and should be traded, but when Logan Mailloux has a terrible series, we're being unfair?
Yeah, I mean, one's a prospect. I guess that's as deep as that goes. But I all the people who want Logan Mailloux in the lineup, and complain about what Mike Matheson does, you're getting. I think I mentioned this on a past episode. Like, you're gonna get. That's what you're getting, that twice as much now. Like, with two players, I think Matheson plays hurt a lot, and maybe he ought not to. I would love Mike Matheson for like 3 more years after this one.
Yeah,
I think that's a perfect term for that player.
Much fewer minutes, 3 more years, much fewer minutes, and that, like, veteran shepherding the young guys role.
Yeah, and especially one young guy in particular, Adam Engstrom. That could be the next Mike Matheson on this team.
Yeah,
watching the way he skates, I see a lot of Mike Matheson in his game. And I think that's a perfect player for him to try to emulate. You know, obviously improve upon, hopefully. You know, he's not
make fewer mistakes.
Yes, I think people also need to realize, and it was the same argument against like Erik Karlsson back in the day when he was like in his heyday. They're like, oh, he gives the puck away all the time. Yeah, because he spends like 15 minutes a night with it on his stick. Yeah. Like that's Mike Matheson.
You gotta have it to give it away.
Yes, and don't get me wrong. Like, when he makes a boneheaded play, I'm not going to be like, well, that's just Mike. Like, no, he's going to be accountable for those, and I know he is. I know he knows when he has a bad night, but I also think that the piling on with this player is really like unfair, and it's not. Yeah, it's just I think people need to recognize that the Canadiens might, in fact, know ball. And I think that the fact that they might want to keep Mike Matheson long term speaks to the impact that he's already had on this roster and what they expect him to do moving forward.
Absolutely. And speaking of,
yes.
So let's introduce our new listeners / watchers on YouTube to the Mike meter. Ian made a Mike meter that we use during the season. It is ranked. You'll see there it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the real units of measurement is whether it was tragic or magic. Was it tragic Mike night or a magic Mike night? Because usually when there's a tragic Mike night, the rest of the team kind of goes the same way, right? Like, he's one of those defensemen where if he has a good night, the team has a good night. If he has a bad night, it's a lot tougher. So normally we rate our rumors according to yeehaws, but today we're going to do a magic / tragic. How do we measure it? Like, magic is something we want, tragic is something we don't want.
I would imagine that's how the meter works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that this is a magic Mike development. I really want him. there are listeners who will say this is in fact tragic, Mike, that they don't want this. And
Oh,
I
they're
guess
going to be
that's
so
the
mad.
beauty.
Ian, we're
That's
going to get so many letters on this episode. People are just going to write us letters.
Yeah, I get it. I get the fact that a lot of nights he doesn't pass the eye test. I understand that. There's more to hockey than the eye test. There's more to hockey than, a clip where he turns the puck over. Like, I don't mean to be a watch the games guy, but sheesh,
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. So before we turn on to our daily trivia, I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow's episode is the mailbag episode. We do have a guest. There is the Brendan Gallagher review, but it is Friday. So if you have mailbag questions, please send them our way. You can send them to us at lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com, or you can leave them in the YouTube comments, or you can send us DMs or at replies or comments on TikTok. We're Locked On Canadiens. Blue Sky, we're Locked On Canadiens. Instagram, we're Locked On Canadiens. And we want your mailbag questions. All right. Let's do our daily trivia.
Yes, and we have a correct answer to the trivia, and also it was so correct that it corrected me in my way of asking the question. So the question was, in 22-23, Lane Hutson became the all-time freshman defenseman point scorer in Hockey East. I think I left out the word defenseman when I did this. Who did he dethrone to take that record? The answer was Brian Leach, and Super Rain, resident genius on this show, not only understood what I was trying to ask, but then corrected me and got the right answer. So that is a hat trick for Super Rain in just, doing the trivia. So congratulations to you. And thank you for keeping us honest here on Locked On Canadiens. Okay. Today's question, in honor of game 1 of the Stanley Cup final taking place as we're recording this. When was the last time the Montreal Canadiens won game 1 of the Stanley Cup final? When was the last time they won game 1 of the Stanley Cup final? Not necessarily the cup, not any of the other games, just the first game of the final series. When was the last time the Montreal Canadiens won that game? If you have the answer, put it down in the comments below. Let us know how smart you are, and we'll give you a shout out on tomorrow's episode.
And you heard the man. That is our trivia question. In the meantime, as you wait for our mailbag episode tomorrow, please make sure you are subscribed to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. You will find us all over social media. We're at Locked On Canadiens on Blue Sky, Locked On Canadiens on Instagram, Locked On Canadiens on TikTok, also lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com, where we expect your mailbag questions. Please send them to us. You can also send us all kinds of stuff. We get listeners sending us pictures of their kids in Habs gear. We get listeners telling us stories about when they met Arbor Jacki, all of that kind of stuff. Like, it warms our hearts. We love it. And also give us permission if you'd like us to share it on the show. In the meantime, please follow my co-host. He's at Maybe It's Ian, and you can follow me. I'm at The Active Stick. Again, we want to thank you all for listening, and we'll be back tomorrow with our Brendan Gallagher review and the Friday mailbag.